Hi, everyone. I got a request from a buddy of mine, and he's got a lot of questions about Airbnb. I'll call him Bob to preserve his privacy. He says, "Hey, Kev, you got me thinking about Airbnb. I took a look at the app, and prices in my town seem low. I'm curious, did you buy mansions or separate housing?" We already had our house that we were living in, but then we decided to move to Tokyo, and so that was going to be empty anyway. And then I had a school, and my wife had a store at another building, so it was a two-story building, and I decided to Airbnb that, and also our original house that came from Canada that was built in Japan. So I didn't buy anything extra, but I had the buildings already. What else does he say? He asks, was it hard to get loans for such investments? Well, actually, we didn't need any loan at that point because it was all paid off. The loan for the house was not so difficult. We had my mother and father-in-law backing us, and we were able to get a loan. It can be very difficult to get a loan as a foreigner in Japan. I think if you have tenure somewhere, then I think it's pretty easy. But if you're like me and you're going from contract to contract, it's very difficult. But my wife has tenure at her work, so we can get loans fairly easily through her. Sorry, just reading here. Yes, how much did your wife have to help out with the Japanese stuff? She told me right from the start she didn't want to be involved at all. So I was on my own, which was fine. But I hired a couple of good assistants. Both were bilingual. I soon learned that one was capable of some things but not others, and another was very good at doing the research necessary to get our guest houses approved. The big difficulty in Japan doing a guest house business is getting approval. So you need to really do your research about what you need to show them that you're ready. And of course, they'll tell you what needs to be improved, but just be honest with them and do your diligence on what you need to have, what you need to do to get approved. And once that's done, then, you're sailing. He asks, how many units do I want? I have two guest houses. Technically, I have five different units, but especially during the pandemic, I've just been renting the whole house so that people don't mix, of course. So I've been renting 3 different units on Airbnb. I think it's actually better to rent your whole place as opposed to a room. Then you don't get any conflict between guests. Guests feel better. They have more privacy. So I recommend that. Yes, how many units do I want? I'd love to have 100 units if I could, but it just depends on how much money you have and how much you want to work. Managing the 3 units now is pretty easy. I've got everything all set up. It's sort of done automatically. I've got a staff that deals with most of the on-site stuff, like cleaning or dealing with emergencies, things like that. So that's the great part. If you love traveling, this is such a great business because you can be abroad and still making money, which is great. But yeah, I'd love to have more. Just getting approval in Japan is difficult. And then, I guess getting a bank loan if necessary. It's a risk, so I don't know. I'm happy with where we are. I'd love to have more. I have my sights, on the lookout for new properties, but anytime you buy something, it's always a risk. Maybe the plumbing's not good, or some things you'd have to really know what you're doing in terms of doing that. But I always have my eyes open for more. I'm trying to branch out and do some Airbnb experiences, which are, you can do tours, you can do classes, it can be online, it can be face-to-face live. Airbnb lets you do a lot of things, which are really, really great. So it doesn't have to be a guest house. I mean, you can be doing a tour, or one of my friends, she tells kind of ghost stories in her town, takes people around and tells them some of the ghost stories of the area. I think she teaches yoga online and live as well. So there really is a whole bunch of things you can do, even if you don't have a guest house to rent out. Let's see, what else does he ask? How hard is it to keep staff? A few people tend to quit pretty quickly, but others stay a long time. So I think, you're going to have some people who it doesn't suit them. The work doesn't suit them. But my staff, one lady I've had for basically the whole time, 6 years now. And the other staff stay. I end up paying them fairly well for a part-time job. I keep giving them raises each year as long as they're doing a good job. Excuse me. But the starting salary's fairly low. But I sort of start them off at about the minimum for Kanagawa, where we live. And then I give them raises every year as long as they're doing a good job. And they tend to stay. It's pretty flexible work, so I think a lot of them like that. He asks, what do I wish I knew before I started? I wish I knew how lucrative it could be. I wish I had started, 5 years before I started, because I didn't believe the hype. I didn't believe the Airbnb calculator. I felt that it's probably a lie. But yeah, I've been amazed. So it's been a great business for us. He writes that his biggest concern is getting help from his wife. And I really advise you not to get help from your wife. I would hire someone competent that can help you, preferably someone bilingual if your Japanese is not up to snuff. There are so many good people that you can find, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. A lot of people like meeting people from all around the world, so this kind of work would suit them. I try to pay fairly. I try to pay well for the people who have stayed with me for a while and been loyal. So and then they stay, which is great. I've got three of my staff actually are all former hotel employees, so they came with experience. I trained a few of them. Once they're with me for a while, they train each other. The biggest thing, I think, is we all notice different things in a home. I'm tall, so I tend to notice the dust up high, which my ladies don't notice because they're shorter. So I tend to clean those areas and point those areas out. We all notice something different, so I think it's really good to have different staff cleaning and doing what have you. And they're pretty honest with me. They sort of point out where I maybe have too many things in the guest house, and Japanese guests don't like that, so I need to declutter or things like that. So I think it's pretty good that they're honest with me and tell me what needs to improve. And if not, the guests will certainly tell you, good and bad. He writes that he had some great business ideas over the years, but his wife shot them down because that meant more work from her. I think that's your wife's job, to shoot down your ideas. No, I'm joking, but I think if you're thinking about this, if you're thinking about a guest house or Airbnb, you probably are an ideas person, and that's really good. And probably your friends and your wife are people who will shoot down those ideas, and we need those people to keep us kind of balanced. And if you are an ideas person, some of your ideas are going to be great, some of them aren't. So I think you need some people to be honest with you and say, hey, that's stupid. What are you thinking? Don't do that. But at some point, you have to ignore that, or even tell them, look, you can't shoot down this idea. You have to work with me on it. Tell me what are the problems, and I'll try to fix it. And that's kind of been, my wife is very practical, and I'm sort of dreamy, but the balance together is good. So she'll sort of tell me what's wrong with the idea, and then I work at ideas to fix it. So I think, yeah, if you're going to share your idea, I would tell the person they can't criticize it for the first few times. They have to support you on how you can do it. Then let them criticize it after you've talked about it a few times, so you can learn about the problems that you've missed, and then you can work at fixing them. So it seems to be people's natural inclination to tell you that your idea won't work. It seems to be a human thing where we look for the negative and try to avoid the danger. But when I was young, I told everyone I would start an English school in Japan. And my friend told me afterwards. Everyone laughed. I had a chain of English schools, 4 schools, 200 students, 3 full-time teachers, allowed us to import a house from Canada and build it in Japan. So if you listen to those people, you're not going to get anything done. So I would listen to yourself, but listen to them for the problems, because they're very good at pointing those out, and then solve those problems. So use them, in other words. Yeah, I think you might want to get a lawyer involved if you're thinking of doing this seriously. I didn't, but when we bought the property for the Canadian house in Japan, we did get a lawyer involved just to make sure everything was going well and was done well. And it wasn't so expensive. Yeah, it wasn't so expensive. So you might want to have a lawyer involved, or definitely an accountant, perhaps. But I think you can hire someone. I mean, I have, and I'm talking about the countryside of Japan. So you're able to hire good people wherever you are. It's just it may take a little while to find them. But I personally wouldn't involve your husband or wife. Working together is a challenge. And if they're not on board, it's going to be more of a challenge. So I would hire someone and pay them a decent sort of part-time salary. And if you're in Japan, you might want to offer them English lessons for free, or I don't know, some kind of perk. That's what I did at the start. He also asks a good Airbnb calendar to calculate how much you will make. I use the calendar right at Airbnb, and I found it very accurate. So that's what I recommend. And that's about it for today's video. So I hope some of his questions were the same as what you would want to ask me if you were here. And I think if you're serious about this, I say go for it. Use the Airbnb calculator, see if it's worth it. If you own a property already that you could rent out on Airbnb, try it out, try it out for a month or two, see how it goes. No sweat off your nose if it doesn't work out too much. If you're going to buy a piece of property for this, then you have to be very cautious, and I would be darned sure that there's demand. So I've thought about buying properties myself, but yeah, so far I haven't bid on anything. It just hasn't been the right fit. So I'd be really careful about that. But if you already have properties available, I would try it out. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you very much.